Hello, sports fans. It is Wednesday, December the 50th, 2012, and as usual, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. I'm going to give you my Army-Navy pick for the weekend. I'm going to go through all the bowl matchups for you, and there are a lot of them. I'm not going to give you my official picks until the games come up, but I'm going to go through all the games, tell you, the date they're going to be played. I'm going to give you a few thoughts on each of the games. There are a million bowl games this year. Before I do that, a couple news and notes from last night. Jets are going with Mark Sanchez. Sanchez was horrific last week. He got pulled. The Jets rallied to win. They're going back to Sanchez against Jacksonville, of all teams. We'll get into that game tomorrow. Jets at Jacksonville. I mean, talk about a horrible game. So, Jets going with Sanchez. A-Rod out half the season next year, getting that hip surgery done again. So the Yankees looking for a third baseman. Napoli signs with the Red Sox. I actually like Napoli. Last night in the NBA, believe it or not, the Wizards beat the Heat. The worst team in the league beats the best team in the league. That just goes to show you got to come prepared every day or else you can get beat. Wizards beat the Heat last night. Oklahoma City went into Brooklyn and beat the Nets. Very nice win for Oklahoma City. And what's with the Lakers? The Lakers had a 17-point lead in Houston last night and lost to the Rockets. Lakers fumbling, stumbling, and bumbling. Just a complete mess right now, the Lakers. Last night in college basketball at Madison Square Garden, the Jimmy V Classic, the doubleheader, Georgetown just routs Texas. What's with Texas this year? They look terrible. And NC State beat UConn in a nice game. So it was a nice doubleheader at the Garden last night. All right, that was some of the news and notes from last night. Without further ado, let's get to Army-Navy. The game's being played in Philadelphia Saturday afternoon. This is a very, very nice game. If you ever have a chance to get to this game, go to the game. A lot of pageantry. Forget the records. This game means everything to these teams. They put their heart and soul into this game. Navy is a 7-point favorite over Army. Navy has owned this series recently. Army hasn't won in a million years. I don't think this is a great Navy team, but I don't think Army's ready yet. I think Navy still gets them this year. I don't think Army is ready to beat Navy yet. And like I said, this is not a great Navy team, but I just don't think Army is quite ready. I mean, they're getting a little closer, but not close enough. I like Navy -7 to beat Army yet again in Philadelphia in just a classic of a game. Like I said, ever get a chance to get down to Philadelphia and see this game, please do so. The pageantry is amazing. The pageantry alone is worth going to the game. All right, let's touch on some of these bowl games. Like I said, I'm not going to give you my official picks until the games come up. I just want to touch on some of these bowl games. There are 35 bowl games. 35. 70 teams made a bowl game. Do you believe that? 70 teams? Let's get to some of them. Let's start with the New Mexico Bowl, December 15th. You have Nevada at 7-5 against Arizona, who's 7-5. This game should be a shootout. Both of these teams can score. This should be a shootout. That game is December 15th. I mean, it should be a high-scoring, wild affair between those two teams. Also on December 15th, you have the Idaho Potato Bowl. Toledo 9-3 against Utah State 10-2. On December 21st, you have the St. Petersburg Bowl. Central Florida, who's 9-4 against Ball State, who's 9-3. December 20th, Poinsettia Bowl. BYU, who's 7-5 against San Diego State, who's 9-3. December 22nd, the New Orleans Bowl. East Carolina, who's 8-4 against Louisiana Lafayette, who's 8-4. December 22nd, Las Vegas Bowl. Washington 7-5 against Boise State 10-2. The Hawaii Bowl. Fresno State, who's 9-3 and had a nice season this year, against SMU, who's 6-6. SMU went 6-6, and not only do they get to go to a bowl game, they get to go to Hawaii. So you go 6-6, you have a mediocre year, and you get to go to Hawaii. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. December 26th, the Little Caesars Bowl. Western Kentucky, who's 7-5, against Central Michigan, who's 6-6. That's a tough one. Military Bowl. San Jose State, who's 10-2, against Bowling Green, who's 8-4. Not much happening there. The Belk Bowl. Cincinnati, who's 9-3, against Duke, who's 6-6. Duke, actually, that's a step up for them being 6-6. They're usually terrible. The Holiday Bowl, which is usually a high-scoring game, will probably be so again this year. Baylor is 7-5, and they are playing UCLA, who's 9-4. That's December 27th as well. Over to the Independence Bowl, December 28th. You have Ohio, who's 8-4, against Louisiana Monroe, who's 8-4. December 28th as well, the Russell Athletic Bowl. Rutgers, who's 9-3 and had a very disappointing end to their season, against Virginia Tech, who's 6-6, who had a completely disappointing season. Also on December 28th, the Meineke Car Care Bowl of Texas. Minnesota, another 6-6 team against Texas Tech, 7-5. December 29th, the Armed Forces Bowl. Rice, another 6-6 team who made a bowl against Air Force, another 6-6 team who made a bowl. Unbelievable, all these 6-6 teams made bowl games. I mean, in this game, you got two 6-6 teams playing each other. Ridiculous. The Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium, that's December 29th. West Virginia, who was 7-5 and had a very disappointing year, gave up 1,000,000 points. They will play Syracuse, who is also 7-5. Should be a lot of Syracuse fans at Yankee Stadium. Also December 29th, the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl. Navy, who's 7-4, against Arizona State, who's 7-5. December 29th, again, Alamo Bowl. Texas, who's 8-4. Texas, another one of those disappointing teams. They actually should be 7-5. They got a gift against Oklahoma State. They should have lost that game. Very disappointing year for Mac Brown and Texas. They will play Oregon State, who's 9-3. Again, December 29th, Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. I mean, where do they get these names for these bowl games? TCU 7-5 against a very disappointing Michigan State team, 6-6. Do you see my theme here so far? Just about every team I mentioned is 6-6 and disappointing, yet they made bowl games. Unbelievable. December 31st, the Music City Bowl. NC State at 7-5 against Vandy, who's 8-4. The funny thing about this game is NC State went 7-5, made a bowl game, and they fired their coach. That just goes to show you how much bowl games mean. They made a bowl game, they had a winning season, and the coach got fired. Unbelievable. Also on December 31st, the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. USC at 7-5, another disappointing team. They had national championship aspirations. They played Georgia Tech, who's under 500, 6-7. So you have USC, who had national championship aspirations, finishing 7-5. I don't know if Barkley's going to play or not. Against Georgia Tech, who's under 500 in El Paso. I'm sure USC loves going to El Paso to play this game. My goodness, unbelievable. Also December 31st, the Liberty Bowl. Iowa State, yet another 6-6 team against Tulsa, 10-3. By the way, I've gone through 22 bowl games. Has any one of them stand out? Does any one of them stand out to you like you have to watch them? Are there any must-watches there so far? Out of those 22 games so far, I would say none of them are must-watch games. I mean, you have 6-6 teams, 7-5 teams, I mean, nondescript teams, teams with losing records. I mean, so far, out of the 22 games I've mentioned, not one of them is a must-watch. I mean, I'll probably watch them all, but, I mean, I'm a fanatic. I mean, on an everyday basis, your normal everyday fan is not going to watch these games. Oh, one other note before I get to the rest of the bowl games. Louisiana Tech went 9-3 this year. They're not in a bowl game. They got invited to the Independence Bowl. They wanted to see what other options they had, so they didn't give the Independence Bowl an answer. They end up not getting a better offer. They go back to the Independence Bowl, and the Independence Bowl goes, well, sorry, we got somebody else. Louisiana Tech at 9-3 left out of a bowl. So you got 6-6 teams in bowls, 6-7 teams in bowls, and a 9-3 team is not in a bowl because they want to see if they could get something better and came back to the Independence Bowl, and the Independence Bowl filled their slot already. Carl Malone, who's a Louisiana Tech graduate, is furious about this. He's lobbying to be the athletic director now, saying this is a disgrace that this team didn't go to a bowl game. I agree. What a botched job of Louisiana Tech. Anyway, let's go to the rest of the bowl games. Let's see if it picks up. Okay, here's a game that's actually a decent game. December 31st, the Chick-fil-A Bowl, which always is a good game because they get two Southern schools in there. They get the Southern fans in there. They get an SEC, ACC team. You get both fan bases. This is a good game. LSU at 10-2 against Clemson 10-2. That's a nice game. You'll get half Clemson fans, half LSU fans. It'll be a nice scene in the Georgia Dome. I actually like that game. That's the first game I like so far. Let's go to January 1st, the Gator Bowl. Mississippi State, who collapsed down the stretch at 8-4 against Northwestern 9-3. January 1st, also the Dallas Bowl, Purdue 6-6 against Oklahoma State 7-5. So now if you're 6-6, you can make a New Year's Day bowl game. Unbelievable, terrible. Capital One Bowl, Georgia. This is January 1st as well. Capital One Bowl, Georgia at 11-2 off the heartbreaking loss to Alabama against 10-3 Nebraska, who just gave up 70 points to Wisconsin. So you give up 70 points to Wisconsin, and you get to play on New Year's Day. I mean, another joke. Unbelievable. I mean, I guess you can get into that game because the two historic programs, Georgia and Nebraska. I don't like Nebraska this year at all, so I'm not into that game. Also, January 1st, the Outback Bowl, South Carolina at 10-2 against Michigan 8-4. Okay, decent game. I can live with it. Rose Bowl, January 1st, Wisconsin at 8-5, Stanford at 11-2. I don't love this Wisconsin team. They lost 5 games. Their coach just ran out and went to Arkansas, took the Arkansas job, which was a shock. I don't love this Wisconsin team, but the Rose Bowl is a picturesque setting. It's got all the tradition. It's on the perfect time of the day. You always like your Rose Bowl. I don't love Wisconsin, though. Stanford's done a nice job. Also, January 1st, the Orange Bowl, Northern Illinois at 12-1 against Florida State 11-2. Did you ever think you'd see an Orange Bowl like this? And I don't want to hear ESPN and Herb Street talking about how Northern Illinois doesn't deserve to be in. This is the way they set it up. Northern Illinois went 12-1. They deserve to be in the game. Do I think the game is great, Florida State, Northern Illinois? No, but they have no one to blame but themselves. This is how the bowl situation's set up. I mean, we'll see in a couple of years once they get that 14 playoff, if it improves, who knows. But this is, you got exactly what you deserved here. So you get Northern Illinois against Florida State. I don't like that game at all. Let's go to January 2nd. Now we're past New Year's Day. They got to change that also. The Sugar Bowl, Louisville at 10-2 against Florida 11-1. Louisville in the Sugar Bowl. I don't like this game at all. That game does nothing for me. January 3rd, the Fiesta Bowl. Okay, here's a decent game. Oregon at 11-1 against Kansas State 11-1. These two teams had championship aspirations. Kansas State lost to Baylor. Oregon lost at home to Stanford. I do like this matchup. I like watching Oregon's offense. I like Bill Snyder, the coach of Kansas State. I like Klein. It's an interesting matchup. The high-scoring Oregon team against the Kansas State team. I do like that matchup. Let's go to January 4th, the Cotton Bowl. Texas A&M at 10-2 with the star quarterback who's up for the Heisman against Oklahoma, who's 10-2. You know, it's funny. I've been disappointed in Oklahoma all year. I know they were 10-2, but I have not liked what I've seen from them all year. I didn't like what I saw from their defense all year. I guess you like this matchup because you get to see the Texas A&M quarterback. Texas A&M and Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. Every year Oklahoma plays Texas in the Cotton Bowl. That's their annual rivalry. Now you get Oklahoma and Texas A&M in the Cotton Bowl. You'll have both fan bases there. I can live with that game. January 5th, the Compass Bowl. January 5th, the Compass Bowl. This bowl should be played on December 15th. Why is this being played on January 5th? Pitt at 6-6 against Ole Miss, who is 6-6. Why do we need to wait till January 5th to watch this game? This game should be one of the first games up on the docket. Instead, January 5th, I mean, are people circling this game? Oh yeah, let's circle that on my calendar. Let's not make any plans for January 5th. We got the Compass Bowl, Pitt at 6-6 against Ole Miss, who's 6-6. I mean, can the Bulls just get it together already? Terrible. January 6th, the GoDaddy.com Bowl. Kent State at 11-2 actually had a nice year against Arkansas State, who's 9-3. I mean, these two teams don't get you excited. I don't want to bash these teams because they're two little schools that had nice years. January 6th, once again, this should be December 15th. Unbelievable that this game is January 6th. And, of course, the big game. January 7th in Miami, your national title game. Alabama at 12-1 off the big one against Georgia, against Notre Dame, who's 12-0, and has found new and creative ways to win all season. You gotta love that game. The two historic programs, Alabama trying to repeat. You got Notre Dame in the game, so that's a very good game. On a whole, 95% of these games are not good. They're not good matchups. Most of these teams shouldn't even be in a bowl. All these 6-6 teams should not be in. The 6-7 Georgia Tech team, I mean, give me a break. Some of these bowls should not be played after New Year's. They should be played, December 15th. They have it all botched up. I basically, out of 35 games, to be honest with you, I mean, I like the Alabama-Notre Dame game. I like Oregon-Kansas State. I can live with Texas A&M, Oklahoma. That's 3 games I like. Rose Bowl, just because of history, I'll give you. That's 4. You want to say South Carolina, Michigan, okay, 5. Georgia, Nebraska, maybe because of the program, 6. And I'll go LSU, Clemson. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 out of 35 games that I actually like. And I love college football. 7 out of 35, and I'm even giving you a few, like the Rose Bowl, which is not a great game this year with an 8-5 Wisconsin team. I'm even giving you that game. I'm giving you the Capital One Bowl with Nebraska, who I don't love, who just gave up 70 points. So I'm even giving you a few games. 7 out of 35? So 28 games I don't like, and I love college football. What's the rest of the country going to think? I mean, my goodness, the Compass Bowl on January 5th, Pitt 6-6 against Ole Miss 6-6. Please, let's get it together with the bowl. Hopefully in 2 years when they go to the 14 playoff, this will all improve. We'll get back to New Year's Day being the big finale of college football. I mean, it's all jumbled now. These matchups, the teams when they play, it's the records, all of it's a complete mess. 7 out of 35 games I like. All right, I can't go on about it anymore. So those are some of the bowl matchups. Now, as they come up, I'm going to give you my picks. Now, after the first bowl game, I believe, starts December 15th, so we'll get into that next week sometime, and then we'll go as they come up. Okay, you guys enjoy the games tonight. That's all we have for you today. Tonight you got a little NBA, a little college basketball, you know, sprinkle in some other stuff. Maybe the NHL will actually get it together and get a settlement done. We'll have some hockey soon. You guys, stay safe. Enjoy the games tonight. Tomorrow, wall-to-wall NFL. We're going to go through all the games, all the picks. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow, Thursday. Take care.